The growth of Shillong as a metropolitan centre with thriving educational, administrative, as well as military affairs can be traced to the arrival of the British to the Khasi and Jaintia Hills in the late 18th and early 19th centuries. The freedom of India in 1947 drove the British away from Indian soil, but the remnants of what once was still remains to this day in the form of heritage structures. In this episode of Shillong's iconic structures, let us take you on a trip down memory lane as we encapsulate the history of one of India's oldest military hospitals in the country, the Military Hospital Shillong, which is celebrating its 125th anniversary this year. Hidden from public scrutiny, this decade-old hospital is located amid the busy Shillong to Guwahati highway in the cantonment area of the city. The hospital is spread across 7 acres of land and comprises of 3 blocks, the upper and lower blocks on the main campus and the administrative block located on the other side of the road. It is a 247-bedded hospital and is the only army medical unit in Meghalaya. Let us dive into the history of the hospital. The Military Hospital Shillong, formerly a regimental hospital, was established in 1897 after the Great Earthquake that struck the region on June 12, 1897. It had a total strength of 50 beds and consisted of the common ward, medical inspection room, and family ward. As the station's strength gradually increased, so did the size of the hospital. During World War II, it was the largest hospital of East Calcutta, now Kolkata, as it attended to the sick and injured from the whole of the Eastern Front. It had a bed strength of 1100 beds, which was increased when the lower block was added and was known as the Combined Military Hospital in 1939. Post-independence, the hospital had a very significant role to play in the 1962 Chinese aggression, the 1965 Indo-Pakistan War, and particularly in the 1971 liberation of Bangladesh, where once again it was a major hospital in the Eastern Theatre. Here is an interesting fact about the hospital. Though the official year of its establishment was set as 1897, following its reconstruction post the Great Earthquake, the fact is that this hospital had existed in its present location since 1867 as a regimental hospital. Back then, only a few buildings were of pakka housing and the rest of the accommodations were semi-permanent housing in nature. The Great Earthquake of 1897 razed the hospital buildings to the ground, but it wasn't long before reconstruction started. Construction of the military cantonment commenced in its present location, but there was a dire need for a permanent hospital and not a shifting regimental hospital. It was decided to reallocate the areas and convert the existing regimental hospital into the station hospital, renaming it the Military Hospital formally in 1897. The first building to be re-erected was the present family ward, completed in 1897, followed by the MI room and common ward in 1898 and 1899 respectively. The MI room and the family ward are the oldest existing structures in the campus. As for the design and architectural style of the building, one glance at the structures and one can surmise that they all bear the same Assam type style of architecture, barring a few newly constructed wards with double insulated ikra walls and high ceilings with chimneys. Lest we forget the pleasant surroundings with its conspicuous elements such as the well-maintained lawns with foliages, including the tall pine trees and fish ponds, the calm and soothing ambience, the winding pathways, and the soft melodies of old Hindi film soundtracks resonating across the campus. The hospital functions as 3 distinct blocks which are situated on 3 different hillocks. The blocks consist of various departments, offices, and wards. The administration block that is situated on the opposite side of the road includes the commandant office and the main office, the officers and nursing messes, the company office, and the medical stores. Did you know that during World War II, Field Marshal K.M. Cariappa, the first Indian Commander-in-Chief of the Indian Army as a young captain, was admitted to this hospital? Did you know that the company office located in the administrative block has a history of its own? Back in the day, the British used this structure as a jail and gallows. It consisted of 12 tiny cells that are now converted into office and storerooms. The space where the gallows are located has been converted into a small lobby, and the transverse beams from which criminals were hanged have been covered and it now appears like any normal ceiling. To date, no changes were made to the original ikra walls of the structure except for a protection coat in the form of the plaster of Paris. Did you know that a memorial erected in honor of Captain Kalu Thapa Sardar Bahadur from the Gorkha Rifles Regiment in 1879 for his contributions in different wars in the mid-1800s is still preserved in the administrative block premises? Did you know that the hospital won the President's Award for the largest contributor to the Indian Red Cross in 1971? Are you aware that the well-known army school in Shillong also had its humble beginnings in the military hospital premises in 1979 to 1980? The area that once housed the school has been converted into a parking space and an incinerator building. When India's missile man and former President of India APJ Abdul Kalam collapsed during a lecture at the IIM Shillong on 27 July 2015 and subsequently passed away at Bethany Hospital, his body was moved to military hospital and kept for the night before being taken by an Indian Air Force helicopter to Guwahati and then to Delhi by a special aircraft. The hospital has treated prominent dignitaries in the past and has been visited by eminent personalities. It has also treated all governors of undivided Assam and subsequently of Meghalaya and Mizoram. It has also admitted and treated Hindi film actors Dilip Kumar and Sunil Dutt. It has been visited by most of the viceroys starting from 1920 onwards and by Prime Ministers Jawaharlal Nehru and Indira Gandhi. The hospital has a considerable dependent clientele from all the service units located in and around Shillong. 125 years and still running, the Military Hospital Shillong stands as testimony to the dedication and commitment of the men in uniform to protect the country from all kinds of threats. The service rendered by the hospital over the years is synonymous with the motto of the Indian Army, service before self.
In most of the countries outside, we have seen the even a minor thing which is maybe even 30 years old or 20 years old is preserved as a heritage, and a lot of effort goes in by the local citizenry to ensure that it is projected. So this is one of the oldest structures in this city and in this state, and it is very important for us to know our history and to understand how beautifully things have been built and they have been preserved over so many years. Most of these structures need to be preserved, and everyone needs to know that they exist and they are important.